So in this video, I want to talk about characters to root for. Characters that we can cheer on. Characters that really make the beautiful things in professional wrestling happen. So in real life, humans are not perfect. There are tons of layers. There's so many ways that we can fail. And there are so many qualities that can be seen as good, it can be seen as bad, and we're a mix of all these qualities. And we usually look towards role models or people that we can aspire to become. In stories, specifically any type of fiction, the characters that we usually love and we remember are those characters that have those traits that we wish we had, or traits that we have that are magnified to an idealistic state. So you'll see sports, and I'm just going to use sports because it's the closest way to relate to professional wrestling. Sports try to establish role models, but it's rare to find someone that isn't polarizing. So take, for instance, this last weekend's Super Bowl. The storyline was, we are witnessing the possible greatest of all time quarterback in Tom Brady getting potentially his 6th championship ring. Or he could lose, and this would seem to be a passing of the torch from a dynasty to the new generation or the future of football. And this storyline was pushed even up to the opening minutes of the Super Bowl. If you were unlucky enough to watch the entire Super Bowl, that storyline fell flat on its face. Because in real life, in unscripted, unmanaged entertainment, you kind of have to just hope that those storylines carry through. The real story of this past Super Bowl was how good the coaching and defensive side of those teams were doing. How strategic they'd planned, how much work they put in to negate either QB's good talents. You'll see the same thing in mixed martial arts. So mixed martial arts or any other fighting sport, usually the two competitors are competing for a title or progression towards a title, but it's really difficult to care for one of those fighters unless you have a personal connection with that fighter, or you just want to see the opposition get beat because you don't like the opposition. In wrestling, there are means of enhancing that experience and controlling the narrative that you can't necessarily do in regular competition. And the hope is by establishing good characters or heroes and establishing evil characters or villains, that you'll win over the crowd and win over more eyes to watch an entertaining spectacle. Now, I know there's going to be some wrestling fans that say, well, good versus evil, that's been done to death. I mean, you're basically beating a dead horse at this point if you think that good versus evil works in today's day and age. And how come the not so good guys or the in-between guys are more popular? Or I think the bad guys are cool, or villains are cool, so I want the villain to win. Excuse me. The problem with good versus good, evil versus evil, or evil winning all the time is, with good versus good, you have a, at best, split crowd. And again, good versus good, just look at a lot of the boxing fights or the MMA fights, even going back to football. If you root for your home team versus the other team, the crowd's going to be split. Or people just aren't going to care, because that can get kind of boring and monotonous. Evil versus evil, who really wants to see villains take on other villains over and over and over again? It might be interesting the first time the Joker faces off against the Penguin, but after a while, you're left wondering why. Good versus evil is always a solid platform to start your story, because you don't have to worry about the crowd not buying in, as long as you're effective in portraying who's the good guy versus who's the evil guy. So what makes a good guy, or what makes a hero? A good guy or a good hero has to have some type of virtue. They have to be virtuous. They have to have some quality that people want to see in themselves or want to see in society. Some examples might be somebody who is so hardworking that their talent reflects how much time and effort they put in to honing their craft. Another good example would be somebody that is always looking out for their friends or always showing courage in adversity. Another thing that a good hero needs to possess and needs to portray to the audience is some type of hope to overcome the evil that they will be facing. So one of the big problems that you see in stories that don't really connect with people in professional wrestling is you'll see somebody that is portrayed as a hero or a good guy. In wrestling, we call that being a babyface. And these baby faces, or these faces for shorthand, they never win. If they never win, why would I want to support them? Or why would I care? It says to the audience, if a face or a hero never wins, that the ideals that this person subscribes to don't work. They're not worthy. So there has to be that hope. And there has to be that time where no matter what evil decides to do, that the good guy or the hero will find a way to eventually thwart this evil. The last thing that a good guy, a face, a hero needs is, if and when they do overcome this evil, they have to win, and they have to win clean. And when we say winning clean, like I had mentioned before in last week's video, is there's a rule set. And though the rule set of professional wrestling has been diluted a lot throughout the years, a hero or a face has to make sure that they do everything in their power to win under those prescribed rules. If they don't, then they'll be seen as cheaters and unvirtuous and unidealistic. And that might work for a little bit, because like we had mentioned at the beginning of this video, we want characters that we can connect with, but it's stronger if we can find characters that inspire us and don't have to succumb to evil ways to get their intended result. So you have to win clean. That means in a normal wrestling match, you have to beat the villain, beat the bad guy, or in professional wrestling, that's known as the heel. You have to beat the heel by pinning them cleanly in the middle of the ring for a count of 3, or making them submit in the middle of the ring and having the evil wish that they never crossed your path as a good guy. It's those types of small details that separate the fascinating, good, intriguing, beloved characters from your everyday, normal, boring person. And there's nothing wrong with your everyday, normal, boring person, but for the purposes of gaining fans and viewers don't want to see boring, mundane, wishy-washy people. Those are my thoughts on characters to root for. And in wrestling, like I said, thoughts on portraying baby faces. If you have your own thoughts on what makes a good babyface, put it below in the comments. Next week, I'm going to talk about the foil to a babyface, and we'll get into what makes a fascinating heel character or a fascinating villain. Special thank you to my Patreon supporters, Adrian, Astrofox Salas, and Laura Sugar Mama Stevens. So I want to end this video with some footage of actual training. I've actually been off the mats for a week or so just because I got this really bad head cold that I didn't want to pass along to people that I train with. So that kept me out of the ring for a little bit. And I definitely had my first training in, about 2 weeks today. And I really felt the ring rust. But I had one of my training partners film some of the work I did. So I'm going to include some of that footage right now.
Okay, recording.